Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Friday, September the 20th. Actually, well, yeah, it is still Friday. I thought it was almost midnight, but it's not. So it is still Friday, September the 21st, 2018. I almost said 2015. Now that's weird. Okay.
No, I'm not going back there. We're done.
Yeah, no. Well, but I think that I don't know why it wanted to come out, but it almost did. But what was on my mind to say is that it is the eve before the equinox.
So,
Okay, there's something for me in that. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'll revisit that later.
well, it's actually a perfect time
Okay.
to do this particular conversation, then, isn't it?
Too true, too true. Because we're going to talk about how you walk through life. I think is what you said, BZ. And for me, it's how I view life. Period. Anymore. Whether it is, whether you believe in magic or not, sort of. I feel like life is magic. I'm magic, you're magic, she's magic, we're all magic. This is all magic. It's just part of who we are.
Right. Do you hold that you are magic and that there is magic, or do you hold that there's no such thing as magic in any shape?
Oh, I know there's magic. And I know I'm magic too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
No, I mean, yeah.
Well, I will say that it wasn't always that way for me personally. I mean, I've always enjoyed reading about magic. I've always, I have always been an avid reader, and sci-fi and fantasy and magic and dragons and ships that sing and things like that are just that's the ooey gooey deliciousness for me. And so I always used to dream about being magic, dream about being that fairy with the little fairy wand that could, grant wishes and things like that. Absolutely. But by the time I was reading those things, the conditioning and programming had taken over that was just something that I was experiencing through the entertainment. It's not who I was, and it certainly wasn't something that existed. Well, no. See, I hesitated because I've known all along since I was very little that it was real and it was there. I witnessed it. I witnessed it as a very young child. And that is exactly partly, for me personally, a specific incident helped to shut some of that down because of what I witnessed. The adults around me were scared, and you didn't see that, you didn't hear that, that didn't happen, that's ridiculous, that we're not going to discuss that anymore, that did not happen, kind of thing. And so although mine was tied specifically to something very, could be described as otherworldly for folks, but to me it is the magic of what life actually is. So I think yeah, that's for me anyway.
Well, magic is all around. It's in everything and everyone, and we were talking off camera, so playing with, acknowledging, standing in that magic is the road home. That's the way to get home. So, and people can hold home in various different ways, but home to me is and I can go home right in this body, and if I wanted to stay right in this chair, I could be home right in this chair. But the home on, the multiversus size level of the word home, where the heart is and the hearth is and the abundance and fully immersed in the magic. But so everybody's, way that they hold it is going to be different. And some may have not even, touched the edges of even looking at that. But nonetheless, it's the way home. It's how we get there. And it's actually the only road home. The other ones are journeys, that are scenic kind of roundabouts, all able to get home from there. But the road home, those are the tools and the skills and the walking shoes and whatever metaphor else you want to use to get there, to get home. Yellow brick road,
Oh, I am in love with Lisa has. I love what Lisa has been saying about the yellow brick road. I've actually shared that more than once, Lisa, since you didn't get a chance to say it. So would you please share at this juncture what you say about how you look at that now? Because that actually pertains to nudges, and it's sort of magic too.
Yeah.
It is magic, not sort of.
It is. For me, I've only held it as magic really recently because I was raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And so magic wasn't really something I was engaged in. I was a little afraid of it, maybe, too. And how brilliant is that? Make someone afraid of themselves. But now I hold it as, so, and two, as a Christian, I kind of held it as more than magical, but miracle, miraculous is how I would have held it. And I think that in that place of being able to create miracles, I have always engaged in that. I feel like I can get into that magical place now, holding it that way, as actually magic is who I am. Mm-hmm. And there never was anything to be afraid of, or no negative connotations at all, really, because it's just who I am. It's what flows. Right. But what did you want me to talk about, Sheila?
Well, we had just, BZ had brought up the yellow brick road, and I just love.
Yes. Oh, for me, the yellow brick road is how I follow the path. The path highlights for me, and so it's shiny, it's bright, it's the thing. When I find myself in the center, I can look around and see, and something will be shiny or will highlight. And then I know that that's the path I want to follow. And so each brick in the path highlights in that similar fashion. So yeah, that's what the yellow brick road is for me.
Yeah, and that in and of itself is magic. I think that's why I
asked
you to share that, because for me, acting on those nudges begets more of the nudges, which begets more of the acting on them, which snowballs into undeniable magic. I mean,
well, yeah, because each nudge gets more magical.
Yes.
Yeah, and when Lisa was describing her yellow brick road, I had you know, I popped open the energetic envelope of this particular time. I was at a big conference, and one of the things, it wasn't what this was all about, but one of the things that we did at one point was to walk on glass. And these were broken bottles, and there was a whole lot of them, and there wasn't really a smooth or round edge in them. And I thought, okay, I can do this. Not sure why I'm doing this, but I can do this. And so anyways, I do the whole thing, and I walked up to and we had to go 6 feet. And they were 3 feet wide, so you couldn't kind of step off. And I thought, okay, well, show me. And I looked down, and my footprints, even though I hadn't walked in them, illuminated. And this time the glass was, I think, mostly blues and green bottles. So it illuminated gold, and I just walked where my footprints were. And
That's so cool.
right down the
What
middle,
did
all
you
6
share?
you know, not a mark, not a scratch. You know, you could see a little bit of, you know, if you push on your finger, your foot, there's a little indentation. They went away. I mean, nothing, you know, just because I was pressure on the uneven points of the glass. And something you said, both of you said about magic and afraid of magic.
Yeah.
And reference, because that's a seems to be a common thing. People are there's a, you know, got to keep, because a lot of times we refer to, you know, black magic or dark magic, but magic is magic, and we're all magic. And how we hold our own energy and the frequency vibration that we hold in the predominant one in the neighborhood that we're in, that's then turns and focuses the magic in a way that is, you know, of a dark or negative sort. But it's not magic.
Well, I had an experience with that, where I was in a group of friends, and I was exploring magic, and I bought myself a book about magic, and I was a bit surprised by a couple of the reactions. But I also get it, though, because of the conditioning and the programming, as we all kind of get, because even I had it, even though I was exploring the idea of it. I was very keen to say right away, oh, I'm just reading, I'm not doing anything, I'm just exploring this. But I also see, I felt then, and I still feel the same, anything that is in regards to, because there are books out there one can get. And what I began to realize is that the teaching of magic is actually the training of one's focus and attention, which helped me comprehend that, well, we just are magic already, and it's a matter of the focus and attention that's devoted in any one direction, of coupled with intention, as far as making things materialize, manifest, whatever, of ours, because we do it all the time already.
Right.
It's just that focus and attention.
Right. Well, how many times?
And now I'm going to add something else too, because this actually just came in as of today because of our prior conversation with Lisa and Jennifer. It's this, and BZ, I know you don't know what this is yet, but it's this, whether or not the heart is open. It's whether or not the heart is open or closed as to how one's manifestations, because we're conscious creators and we're creating all the time. I just really comprehended finally for the first time earlier today that by having a closed heart is how the creations that we are creating, they're not consciously, it's like all kinds of, it comes out all wonky because it's not flow. It's not out, when it's the energy is trapped or whatever because the heart's closed. That's what I'm feeling at this point in regards to that. So sorry. I had to add that.
I was seeing if I could pull back the thing that came in on the last thing you said, and I'm not certain I can. Haven't you, I mean, lots of people have heard this or said this kind of refrain themselves when someone's doing something, it could be a job, it could be a sport, it could be anything, right? But, those are kind of, wow, it's so magical the way you do that. It's God, it's like you make that look so easy, you make it look like magic. Well, that's when there's something that someone is doing that's innate to them, that it's the flow, that if they, it's like, well, yeah, everybody can do that. They don't realize it because there's not something that they have to think about. I mean, they may have honed it in other ways because they got into doing it and playing with it and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. We use these kinds of things, these expressions all the time, although we don't really, that's somehow a different kind of magic. We don't even realize what we're saying, but in essence, in that kind of area, what we're saying is your light is shining, your heart is open, and the spark of you is coming. I can see it. It's right there, and it works the same way as that's a lot of this false construct is, and that may be why people don't describe it that way, but they kind of pick up on it, even if they're, not really awake to what's going on, that there's a fear around magic because the false construct is built with magic of the very darkest sorts because the beings that are wielding it are of that. You can talk to lots of people. Could be in the sovereign thing, could be all different, I hate to separate us all into things, but anyways, they may use monikers for themselves, but around word magic and the spells that are woven with the words. I mean, look at law, that's all word magic. It's all subterfuge. It's all misdirection. So, there's so many areas in all of life where all of that is. And so that's one of the reasons there's many other energetic components and heartitude components to it. But that's one of the reasons that magic is the road home, because that's how we unwind and unbind all of this that was done conjured with magic of the dark sort. We unwind and unbind it with the most potent magic that there is, and the most unassailable magic that there is, and that's love. That's the biggest magic wand around.
Agreed. You said something earlier in regards to word magic, and I do know that there's a thought out there. I won't say a lot, but I know that there's a thought out there that language itself, originally having been created in an effort to limit, in an effort to bind, in an effort to
Absolutely.
right. And there's also a thought out there that English, being the most recent iteration of that, has actually become the most powerful and part of the reason. I mean, even if one doesn't quite buy into all of that, all one has to do is look at certain words and there's a lot in regards to that, and a lot of different thought process out there. The first time I was ever exposed to word magic on the whole was an article, and I will find this so that I can link it in the show more section. It was written by Bradley Love, and it was called The Esoteric Con of Man.
It's on
And,
the YUV. I don't know
is
if
it?
he's still doing his. I think he's still doing his blog, but I'm not certain.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah.
not certain either, but that was one of the best reads, and it was my first real exposure to not just an intellectual exercise in regards to that, but just even considering it in that manner. You know, having come up in the Christian era, you know, everyone hears about the Tower of Babel and how, you know, and I've always held a certain thought process behind what that meant metaphorically. But I have a feeling that it had to do with the creation of language and thereby some binding and, you know, dark magic around all of that, because the innate abilities that have been coming online for all of us, and I know that there will be folks out there who say, well, not for me, but they're there. I know they are, because the moment
for everybody.
no, I know, that's what I'm saying. The moment I realized a few things over the last couple of days, like, oh crap, you know, that's always been there. It's just, you know, it's part of it is those veils that we have up within us that don't allow us to see these things sometimes, and it's all within that divine timing as to when it comes down, I think, whatever choices we've made. But the well, crap, it's another one of those things. I knew I was going somewhere with that, and now it's gone.
Well, let me play it for a second, see if this, because this is what part of along what the track you were talking about, where the word magic and the, you know, with the whole deal with the false construct, and there's the word magic actually works on two tracks, especially the English language in particular, but that's one of the reasons, there's no coincidence why it was pushed to try to be the predominant language in all countries. It wasn't so a bunch of tourists from America could go over and talk easier. It's because it's the magic, the word magic, and in business, for the most part, it is the language that, you know, that you, even if you're in Asian countries and you do, there's certain protocols that they have very specific to the Asian and how, you know, their whole lineage and the way that their customs work, they still, businesses transacted in English. And it's not because other people couldn't learn to speak, it's because of the magic and the spells that are woven in the language. So part of that is that there's two tracks to the language. There's the one that's known, that is the we'll call it the dark alchemical part of the language, and then that is part of the mystic secrets and the hidden schools. And then there's the other part of the language that everybody else knows, although they really only think they know it, because they don't, because if they did, they wouldn't open their mouth. or they certainly wouldn't use it. And so there's a subterfuge there, but illicitly, with all intent, absolutely by design. The other thing is that this is not new. So many things with what's unfolding now and the unwinding and binding. And again, you can look in any area, the swamp, the this, or that, the Q, the Tennessee, whatever. And people are thinking that somehow it's new, maybe a couple of years old and it's just Democrats, or maybe it's 30 or 40 years old and it's just this. No, this is eons. This is up to, well, way before the known history, and that's part of, again, with the English language, you look at all the words that where Anu comes in, and all of those words that we have, an and anu and all those things embedded in the words, and some it's just 2-letter word and he's right there, and and it's a, what is it, I don't remember the grammatically what and are what forms of speech. Yeah, well, there's
I
some.
cannot help you.
Yeah, no, I can't help you with that either.
Okay, well, see, I thought, anyways, they are, and someone goes, I know. Well, okay, but anyways, but that's why they're there with Anu in there, because it's what you're doing, actually, unbeknownst to, is again, it's in that focus and attention on that, and in paying homage into it, and in that line to carry through the spell of the word spells.
Right.
Anyways, that's just one part of magic. There is so much more to it, and the magic of, so let's play for a moment, if we can, on the magic of hidden in plain sight, and how things are hidden in plain sight, and no matter how many glasses you put, you can't see them, and then all of a sudden, magically, they're everywhere. I mean, you can see it. It doesn't take any looking. You just know it's there. In fact, you can finish the words, so to say. You can finish someone's words coming out of their mouth because it's so in plain sight that it is. And so part of the magic of that, well, on the seeing it all, is us. We're the magic decoder ring, because we are decoding all of this now. That's part of what's the innate part of us that's coming online, that we're fully stepping into, that we're connecting to, all of that kind of ways to describe it are all apt. And that's what makes it so easy to see all of these things. And, some people say, look at the puzzle pieces and do it, connect the dots. But all of these things are lighting up for people, and as they get one thing, it's almost like it will it's retroactive in the decoding. So you may not have seen something, and now you're starting to see, and it's not quite so hidden, and wow, all of a sudden here it's really in plain sight. Well, even if you're not focusing, we'll just look linear for a minute, those things back there that were all hidden in plain sight, and just as obviously as this piece is, although you weren't at that moment to see that, you actually, it's like a chain reaction backwards, and you don't even have to look, because now it backfills all of the holes in the data that were coming for you. So it's not only illuminating big parts of the picture or whole pictures, depending on where you are and how you're playing with the magic that is you. It's unfolding all of it. That's why we're in the moments of absolute data being totally revealed, and we're doing it for ourselves because it's an inside job.
It's magically delicious. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. The phrase that came to me when you were talking about that is cascading,
Yeah.
because that's what it feels like once once I began to see different things, it began to be like a cascading effect
Mm-hmm.
of that. And just like with the nut, the whole it with the nudges.
Right. So think about electronics and which is energy and frequency, right? And a cascading effect. So you can have a cascade failure, but you can also have a cascading effect where the different subsystems in an electronic thing can relay forward, so you can actually decode something as it cascades forward as well. It doesn't just cascade backwards.
No, that's correct. I don't. Yeah, I don't see anything going in one direction anymore.
Right.
Things go all sorts of
Right. So if someone is saying, because I've been hearing people kind of noodling this around about this whole magic thing, and maybe they've never thought about questioning it this way, or but you can look at just the ordinariest sort of things in just the most linear sort of ways, and if you look at it, you can actually see that there's magic right there. There's magic in how the things work. There's magic in the creators that built them or put them together, were inspired, and all that kind of stuff. But it's gotten, we just think it's the cell phone or the this or the other. So, no, that's technology. Well, you are the greatest piece of technology that exists. And a cell
Yeah,
phone is
that's
got
right.
nothing on you.
Yes, when if one stops to think about what all is taking place in order for that being to sit, stand, whatever it is that they're doing at the moment that they hear this, and think about all the functions, and I get dizzy just thinking about it. Everything that's going on within your own physicality right now, and what it takes for all of that to do all of what it's doing right now, all on its own, without any thought really from you in any way, shape, or form, and tell me that's not magic all on its own. If you, I mean,
Or effort.
yeah, or yeah, right.
Can I rate, since we're still on the poker metaphor from the last one, I'm going to raise you a couple chips on that one.
Okay, please do.
So yeah, so absolutely correct, and that was just the take that from the body that you came into the planet with. But right now, you have a totally different body, and it's getting more different every moment. And the number of relays and cascading effects and expansion and shifts and changes and actual tangible linear what's the word I want? Physiological changes that are happening within your body at the same time that all these, we're talking drastic changes, like, I can't think of a picture to paint it, how miraculous it is. But so you have that on top of what Sheila already talked about, and that's what's going on right this minute.
When you said that, I got to tell you, I got this little voice in my head that said, "But wait, there's more." Yeah, because it's all that and more. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, well, just wait a moment, and there's a lot more.
There'll be even more.
Yeah. Yeah, because as the well, let's see if I can describe it in a very linear way to paint a linear word picture of it. Heretofore, when you would die, right, and you would go back into pure energy, non-physical, at least for a few moments. You would have recall. You would have that connection. You would have okay, I'll put that caveat on in a minute. So you would have recall, you would have connection, and access to the all. And then you would come, so let's say, and this is just linear placeholders, not accurate anyway, but let's say when you die and you're out of body and your soul and all of you is now complete cohesive again in the non-form way, so just energetic. So now you would be, as a representation, you would be, and this would be a small description of your representation, you would be the size of the planet Earth. Okay, so you pop out of your body, this body's dead, you know, worm food, and you are the size of planet Earth. Now you I'm getting to the caveat because a lot of people are going, but yeah, but the whole, anyways, trapping system. So you then come back in, and we're talking about this planet. So you come back in, and you've got to, you know, shave a whole lot of you off because you're the size of planet Earth, and you got to come into this body.
Well, and not even this body, a tiny body.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Just to be clear.
Right, which goes up. So anyway, so that's just to give a little picture, okay? And just for some people on both sides, some are going, come on, you gotta give the caveat, and some are, what are you talking about? So there is a trapping system. So that's why I said you could use the thought that you're the size of planet Earth. But because you actually cannot go back, which is the normal, the natural intended route, which is to go back to source and then show how you want to play whenever, you're forced in this, again, Anu is our buddy here, you're forced into the golden filament it's not completely intact anymore, but was the trapping system that was the net.
Are you referring to what some people call the false light?
Yeah, well, I'm actually talking about the trapping net, but in that is the false light.
Okay, that's all right. I just wanted to be clear.
So that's the caveat that I was wanting to bring in. So when I say, when you know your body, the body you had dies, you go out, your non-physical form, and you're the size of planet Earth. The reason that you're not the size of galaxies, really, and again, these are all linear metaphor placeholders, so they're woefully inaccurate. It's best I got. You're the size of galaxies, but you're only the size of planet Earth because you're in the trapping system.
Oh, I see.
So you can't actually go back to where you are, which means you can't reconnect with all that you are. Anyways, I just want to set that up for a moment so that, because I'm trying to to have the picture coming back in. So to illustrate that, because what we were talking about is the changes. So Sheila was talking about magic and how you can be sitting here and listening or standing in this conversation and all the things that are going on within your body. And I said, yes, and, because there's a lot of that, yes, and all the other things that are going on in your body now because of this moment of time and all the changes and all the shift of expansion that are actually, you know, on a molecular level as well as energetic and everything else are changing. So what I was trying to do is paint a linear picture of when you're not in form, the essence of that is you, and what it encompasses is very, very large. And so that you can get a sense of it, it is when you left the physical embodiment, whatever expansion you had on that would follow with you, because that's yours, it's innate. Anu or the rest or any cannot take that from you, much as they try. And so you then accumulate that, so you expand into that, and then you come back in, you know, for the next one. What's happening so you understand what's happening now here in this chair, you know, in this shirt or other ones, that's going on is that all of you is coming into this body. So
not just the earth-sized portion of you.
that's correct.
Galaxy size.
The multi-galaxy sizes, yes, as a woefully inaccurate, you know, linear place. Yes.
Which sort of explains some of the pains.
Yeah.
Moving tracks.
Right. And the need for integration and to let go and remove and to sort and sift. And you know, when you mention, actually I think you both did, where there's times recently, and we were talking about this off camera, that it was happening around, you know, people at work today, where there are these, you know, mid-sentence live in real time in person, you know, you lose the train of thought because there are reboots going frequently, pretty much constantly now. And as those reboots happen, they're resets because it's another jump. Think of your neural nets, and it's not just on the physical, you know, if you looked at an electron microscope, but the etheric and the energetic as well. Those are all happening. And so when you have it, it's a reboot. And not because, like with a computer, you're rebooting it because it got jammed and you need to reboot it because it's, you know, stuck. It's, you're actually keep jumping. So if you had, yes, if you had 10,000, we'll say, filaments that were going in this, now you have 20 and 30. So in that moment where they pulse, and they jump and they expand and they reconfigure, which just takes a nanosecond, right? There is a momentary interruption because you're actually reconfigured. What is cool is that as you do it more and more, and you're infinite, so you know that'll give you the scope. You're getting better and better and better, and faster and faster and faster of realigning and rebooting this every time you do it. But it's happening into the physical body. Now the physical body is having to change dramatically, exponentially, drastically, unheard ofly, you know, to make up a word, in order to flow with this and encompass it. So that's magic as well. And your body knows exactly what it's doing. Your body knows how to do this and is guiding you through. When it says, eat this particular kind of food, you go, what are you, nuts? you eat that particular food because there's something from that, whether you understand it or not, that it needs for the different energy frequency bandwidths that it's going through and incorporating, for the different and its levels and layers is not accurate, but it's a placeholder, frequencies and dimensional bandwidths that you're incorporating. So there are different parts that come from it, and your body knows how to do it. That's pretty magical. So that's an example of you. It's your body. It's magic. So one thing that's fun to really play with and kind of, picture and focus and dive into the different parts of that magic is that the magicalness is very broad, very deep, very expansive, and it's on, you could say, on many levels, on many layers. It's in how you create things, it's what you're doing, it's how you see, it's how you decode, so excuse me, there's all different parts and components to that magicness. And we can open up different windows into the magicalness. And we have very specific tools that we can use to do that. We talk about a couple of those tools a lot. And, noticing is one, and playing is another. And as you focus and you give your attention and you do it in a soft focus way, so it's not trying to pull it in, and you can have you can notice and then partake in those experiences that your magic and your interface with all that is magic. Because remember, it's not just you, it's there's magic and magic and magic and magic, and they're all interfaced and connected, and there's a whole there's all sorts of conduits and connections and okay, my language is not magical at all right now, because I see all the pictures, but I can't describe it. So all of those are connected. Remember, we had a while back, we had a conversation, and I think it was about different experiences that we were having in the fantastical and magical and stuff. And I talked about a walk that I had taken in the trees, and where I kept jumping through, opening up and jumping through these different portals that was taking me through these different places, which was on this planet, different places, off-world, different planets, and so on and so forth. And then again, that's what I'm talking about. All those interconnections, all those conduits, all of those synapses and things. It's not just in your body. If you look, you can see the veins or the tendons or the, nerves, that kind of stuff. It's not just in your body, but your body is the gateway to it. Your body is the portal to it. You are a portal. That's what Stargate Ascension and all that is referring to, because you're the Stargate, you're the portal. So you can actually go through and have these experiences through those connections that I'm talking about, and they're not just in the physical body. It's kind of like even if you're not familiar with the science of it, it's like a neural net, except that it's not just the neural net within your brain or your body. It's the neural net that's in your whole energy field, right? So remember, we talked about galaxies wide energy field.
Mm-hmm.
And whoa. And it connects with collectives and other fields and portals and spheres that you choose to play with. So to relaying the experience of walking in the woods and, again, using those magical jump points. I forgot what I referred to them before as the noticing and playing with that and jumping through. That's how I can have that actual physical, real-time, eyes wide open. I'm not sitting down oming, right? I'm standing up, experiencing this, and I can go and be in these different places and see species of trees and flowers and other experiences that are in, think of a setting in the woods, what the things you see, fauna and flora and different birds and this, that, and the other, butterflies and all sorts of things, right? But see that, because in that neural net, again, poor word, but it's what I got, in that neural net and those pathways, I'm just following through down that because I've jumped to that one. That may be on the planet called, I don't know, Frazzledoo over there, because that's where the conduit and the neural net goes to. That's a stop, a portal. If you think of a train station, that's one of the and some, like New York City, there's different lines, the A line and all these different lines, and then they have different hubs where they're kind of the uptown and downtown trains, and then the crosstown trains. So you'll have, if you're looking at all these lines, they'll meet here, and you can, at this station, you can go get a train that's going crosstown, you can get an express trains, you can get, local or uptown, downtown, or whatever. So, that junction is me. So we have those as well. So we can have, it's almost like, well, super Stargate's not quite right, but a super Stargate where we can come into a middle like this and then shoot ourselves out into all sorts of portals. And we can do it in different ways, depending on how we choose, depending on how familiar we are with it yet, depending on how we kind of go, whoops, whoa, I didn't see that coming, that I could do that, So, and we do it more and more and more consciously, and at our linear brain conscious level, we can choose to do that. But everybody, it's not just one person or 20 or a couple hundred.
Well, you actually said there in what you were just saying, you actually said something very significant for me, and that is that you said consciously, because I have come to feel recently that it's very possible that, well, no, it's not just possible, it's plausible, and I know it has happened with me, to me, for me, through me, around me, unconsciously. But it's not that it was done to me. It is that there's a portion of me that knows what to do and how to do that. I'm aware that it's in some way, shape, or form slightly out of phase taking place. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it's I don't actually know it, and so I think that apply. That has to do probably for me personally in regards to veils that are still in place that I have there for whatever reason that I've chosen at this moment of now to have there. But
well, let me stop you for a second, because it can also, yes, it can also be things where there is focus and intention, but not at all of the helpful sort. So remember the old chestnut of telepathy, that we played with way back when. So we think that it needs to look like a duck, quack like a duck, and, you know, waddle like a duck. Otherwise, I'm not going there doing that. I'm not consciously doing it, and, you know, it's somewhere on the periphery, and I kind of have a sense of it, and I know I'm doing it, but I wish I would let myself in on the gig on how to do it, because it's really damned annoying, right? Okay. So that probably described, you know, all of us at various points with that.
Yeah.
A lot of times when that happens, it's because we're thinking that we're attached to how it shows up. We're attached to how we do it because someone did X, Y, and Z, and I'm not doing it in that X, Y, and Z. And so what's wrong with me, or I can't do it, or it's not working, or mine's broken, can't get it to work, you know. And that's another way that the noticing comes in, and you know, beholding what's unfolding for you in that moment, because it's going to all be slightly different, and depending on where you are and how you come up to it, you may come up along the side of something, and if you, instead of, you know, if you're trying to describe, you've never seen a boat and you're trying to describe a boat for the first time, and you come up alongside of a boat and look at it, as opposed to the bow of the boat or the stern of the boat, they're very different the way you would describe it. Remember, you've never seen it before. Well, no, that's not that. That's something, you know, it's the person at the bow and the person at the stern and the person on the side, you know, and maybe there's a paint job that's different on the port side or the starboard side. So they're, you know, right. So again, that's our focus, but there's an attachment to what it is that we're focusing on, instead of going, well, you know, if I look like this, or I kind of expand my view, or, you know, maybe swim under the boat, or, you know, there's lots of different ways that you can hold it, so that we're not attached to that it's got to be the side of the boat and this, that, and the other thing. So we're trying to make the stern of the boat replicate where somehow we thought that to get on this ramp of magicness, whatever it is, it's got to look like the side of the boat. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that's I think that's perfect, because it was the telepathy piece that you brought up that actually brought that out for me in particular, that I was holding it, that it would be a specific way or present in a specific manner. Well, you know, because we're trained and conditioned, I thought it was going to be like you saw on TV, you know.
And as soon as you had that, we had that conversation, right? And you played with it differently, and you noticed it. Imagine that. All of a sudden, things started to shift and change, and more information came in, which had been there all along.
Right.
In all fairness.
Absolutely. You know, that's just it. And that, because it's another example exactly like that. You take that day that I was out somewhere, and I just knew that there was French fries wanted at home. That's all I knew. I just knew it. I didn't know how I knew it. I just knew it. And I actually was testing it and all that kind of thing. And had it gone down a little bit different, that could look like magic. Oh, how did she know we were sitting here talking about how much we wanted French fries? Because I'm magic.
Right. But that's actually accurate. You know, no, it's just that we've, like, you know, telepathy and everything else, we've changed different things, and by design, a lot of what we think as magical or magical kingdoms and stuff really are magic, but they're magic of the very darkest sort. And again, on purpose and on design, and whole industries within the financial slavery and all of the other kind of subsidiaries of that, because that's the foundational piece. Fan out from that, because it's to capture the most magical, is that capture the innocence. It could be innocence in a wee one, or it can be innocence, in someone who's older. The age, is more prevalent in just a wee little one. But so again, those are all those kinds of things that are all part of as we were talking a minute ago about hidden in plain sight and starting to decode that you can see that. If you think of 3D glasses to see a 3D movie, or decoder rings, and the way that they're talked about in different stories. And so we actually are and have all of those things. Some of them are rusty and have a lot of gunk on them, or dust or grease, or whatever metaphor you want to use. Some of them we haven't noticed. Some of them we took off, although we can't really, that's not accurate because we can't really do it, but we kind of took off or put aside because we were trying to fit into someone else's mold, as you talked about at the very beginning of this conversation, Sheila. And, and part of that comes into the greatest magic of all, which we've talked about, is love. And when we love ourselves, all the blindfolds come off. Because then we can truly connect back in and swim, in the river of love, and we're immersed in that. And we can see, we have the holding that takes place in us. We can see and feel and partake in all of the streams, and each current and eddy in that stream affords us even more, one could say, more magical abilities, more access to that network, neural net and stuff I was talking about, of how we can transport ourselves and transport things to us in different ways. One of the things I wanted to go back to is it came up in a couple different things that I said and you said, to use it as a metaphor. So if you ever walked through, a forest comes to mind, but it could be any place where, and you notice that there's a cool spot, and then you walk, and there's what it is actually it's currents and eddies in the air, in the wind and the atmosphere. And some may not feel windy, but that's why you're feeling the changes. Or if you're swimming, and you could do it in a swimming pool, but it probably would be in a more natural body of water. So the ocean, or a lake, or a river, or something like that, right? Where you swim through, and it'll feel warm. There's a pocket of warm, so you kind of hang out there and paddle in the pocket of warm, and then it's a little chilly. Again, those are currents and eddies. And so that's there's no sign that says there's a warm spot here. And there's no, unless you're really good at reading the water, you're not going to notice that, oh, that's a warm spot, right? You feel it. So you notice and you pay attention, and you're actually immersed in the sensory neural net that's coming to you and telling you. Well, so that's a really good metaphor for what we're talking about with connecting with the magic that is you, and then the magic that is all around you. In how do you do it? Because it's, again, contrary to how the programming thought is, it's not going to have a big sign on it, and it's not going to fit in a certain very rigid, although perceived and sold as a magical way. So, and we do, again, most people have been swimming someplace and they've had that experience, or they've walked someplace and they've had that experience with the same eddies and flow of air. So I think it's probably fair to say everybody has, in some way or another, if they think back, they can remember where that's been. So it's subtle, but it's also very demonstrative, because if you're cold and you're in the water and you hit a warm spot, whoa, you'll back up even, or you'll tread water a little faster if there's a little bit of a current, because you want to stay in the warm spot. So again, it's noticing and feeling all of that, and we just do it in a different way because maybe we've been used to swimming, or walking someplace in the winds. I mean, I can remember a time in New York City, and in the caverns of the city, and feeling those eddies of the air currents and the different changes in temperature. So it can be any place, but that's I hope a helpful metaphor that people can then realize how all of this stuff is already happening, in great gobs, oh my, all the time, and we're just not noticing it. Then when we do, then it's not just great gobs, it's like this torrential flow of the stuff, and that's even just a tiny little bit.
Yeah, it feels for me, and maybe not so for some that aren't, I don't know, following their nudges or whatever, but you were saying about the great gobs of it. It feels for me like you almost have to, I would have to put on blindfolds and earplugs to miss the magicalness of it all right now. I would have, and I don't even know if that would work, to be honest, because
too exhausting to block it from yourself. Like, you just can't even.
Well, and it's so much more fun not to.
Well, that's the three of us have talked about that a lot recently, how that's the real work. The real work is blocking it. The real work is denying it, not noticing it. That's hard. That's hard work. I mean, I'm out there playing in so many different realities and things simultaneously, and they're actually now bleeding through into my quote unquote right here physical reality, that someone right next to me can see it. And that's a whole other conversation we'll have. And it's like
oozing out now.
Right. And I noticed that people, kind of getting closer, going, I don't know what the hell that was, but that was pretty kind of cool, and it's like, oh, you saw that? Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that exact kind of thing, that so happened to Lisa and I yesterday. Oh my gosh, that was almost comical what happened. Lisa and I were out yesterday and we stopped for a quick little bite of something. And because we weren't in there, we couldn't have been at that table more than 30, 45 minutes at the most. There were 3 employees. We were sitting out on the patio by ourselves. And there were 3 employees that were, they came out to visit us a lot. And one lady came out to have an entire conversation with us. And that was absolutely magical. And could you feel that, Lisa? It was like, it was so magical and different, because it took attentive servers to an entire level for me personally.
Cosmically delicious realm, yeah.
It really truly was, and I'd not experienced anything like that anywhere else. So of course in my usual fashion, I made a big deal out of it to the manager in front of all the employees and every customer in the joint, because it was so pleasant. It was such a cool experience.
Well, so that's an example you just described of probably a good way to describe it is where the if the whole restaurant is in the again, to just linear placeholders in the higher fourth dimensional, right? Because 3 is basically gone. But you and Lisa, and then the 3 who came out, in particular, you were that may not be their predominant frequency of vibration, but they certainly were hanging out in that frequential neighborhood, right? So where there was a bleed through between, in the middle fifth and then the rest of the restaurant. But so people, many beings will say, well, I can't wait to get to the 5th dimension. Well, it's here.
Yeah.
And like telepathy, like magic, like all these other things, it's not the stopping place. It's not the only, it's not even the beginning. To say it's just the beginning is limiting it in itself. It's we're also beyond all of that. Because why? Because we're magical. Why? Because we've taken this beyond even that we had in the plan. That's why the plan, trust the plan. That's why the plan keeps changing, because we keep expanding it forward, out, however you want to hold it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. This is a really huge conversation. This is not the last time we're going to be talking.
No, that's why I said when we started this, I said, well, we'll pick a focus. You said, what do you mean? I said, well.
Yeah, because it is really huge. It's a huge, because it is everything too.
Yeah, and that's why I say you can look at it, and we've kind of touched on a few different parts, but again, you could spend many conversations just in one focus with many different parts of that, which I think would be fun to do, at least some of them. And if people want to write in and share, where they want to play, and we can do that too.
Yes, I love that idea too, BZ, by the way. So thank you for that too. I would love to hear from folks about, well, anything and everything, but magic in particular,
Yeah.
Any questions?
What I was going to say too is that, well, maybe not. It may have magically floated away on a magic carpet.
There's a lot of that going around out here.
There is a lot of it.
It can magically flow right back.
Well, yeah, I was talking about, the bleed through, but I know. Because at the moment that happened, I had a very, very linear conversation about it, and then all sorts of others, and I'll explain a little bit of that in a minute. But the linear one was where Sheila, and I noticed that you don't go there. It used to be a go-to place quite often for you. I just felt really good. I don't know why. There's no reason. So at one point, and it was an odd day, and again, eddies and currents, and this might be a conversation to play with too, because I think there's a lot of toolbox stuff in it. But anyways, that's another conversation. So at the moment, I had been working through various different things and being fully ensconced, just a simple way to say it, in many different realities at the same time. And work was, yes, one of them. And it's like I came in this eddy, whereas I talked about before that neural net cross pathway. And I had, the physical sensation was kind of like a shiver, not a bad shiver, nothing like that. But it was just like a little noticing thing. And I thought, I'm so damn happy. And I'm so I actually looked down at my feet because it didn't feel like they were actually physically on the ground. And so in that incident, that cross section, again, Bart Linear said, well, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because, a nanosecond ago, you were, in one of the different streams, you were embroiled in something over there, and then this and the other thing. And I said, yeah, it's cosmically delicious. This is the way we do this. And, just went off and all the different things. And so, again, that's a really good example of magical. And sure, I could have sat there and deconstructed or trying to think all these different things, or use, as Sheila used to, does not anymore, say, and I don't have any reason to be, and even my ego mind pointed it out in a way that was very un-ego-minded, not linear at all. It's saying, yeah, it's odd because you were just, instead of, what do you got to be happy about or anything like that. So it's happening for everybody all over the place. And it's happening more and more each day all over the place. And if you're feeling that, not happening to me, that's where what I did an individual video, actually two of them. One, are we there yet? So part of what I talked about in there might help you with that, but also in the, I was playing with a toolbox of how you notice these things and put them together and kind of be in that flow. And you're at the genesis of it. You are 100% responsible and liable for it. And no, that's not punitive. And you have the same power, if you want to characterize it magical or otherwise, you have the same power to block it from yourself as you do to stop all of a sudden and go, I feel so damn happy, and look down and see if your feet are actually touching the ground or not, So we hold the reins, we hold the ropes, we got our hand on the rudder and the throttle, and at this moment in time, in these energetic frequencies, and just wait a nanosecond and it, that is absolute. It's demonstrable, it's tangible, it's noticeable. And you could also say that's part of this demarcation that we've, to go back to the video we did a few minutes ago or whatever it was, that our strengths are all amplified, our magical strengths, right? And new paths are unfolding. And so, so a really down and dirty linear way to say it is you're working really, really hard to keep yourself from noticing that. And why? I don't know. What's the path? Because there is one if you keep doing it. And again, that's not punitive. And, you're incredibly magical. So let yourself be that, because that's who you really are. That's the natural. Maybe is there some embedded fear? Is there some, something in there? But that's all, again, part of the play. And look at something that you're not attached to. Look at something that's very inconsequential to you. No big deal. And play with that, because that's where there's least resistance. And, but, and I think we said this already on camera, but this is the road home. This is the road home.
Yeah, this is the way that it works.
Yeah, and it's the most, not only is the road the most beautiful thing and sublimely delicious thing that you've ever, never mind encountered, but imagined or read about or seen in anybody else's imaginings. But there, the road that you're on and the road getting there pops by its very nature of you being in the flow of that road and moving as you do, you are actually popping open things that have never been before, because you're that good. You may not see them yet, but that does not negate that you're popping them open and creating them. And you'll meet them. You'll meet you when you fall in love with you as you walk home.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, because
And you'll,
I'm in the midst of courting myself right now. Thank you.
yeah. And you'll stop along the road and go, I feel so damn happy, and my feet aren't touching the ground.
That's been happening quite a bit, actually. The enjoying of the journey has begun for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one thing I would add to that is, and yes, there is the enjoyment of the journey, even if, you know, heretofore you couldn't have thought of a reason why you would enjoy this particular little part of the journey, you know. Even the bad stuff, quote unquote, you know, even the rough patches, even the day at work, it's all part of that, because you have a different viewpoint, a different perspective, a different, wider, broader, expansive aperture on it.
Yeah. All of that, what you just described there for me, it keeps coming back to that, the heart opener closed and the fear or love portion of it. That's it's all, it all comes back to that. For me, I can see where I blocked a lot of my own magic, simply due to doubt, and doubt comes under the heading of fear, and therefore it shuts the heart down and makes that magic a bit wonky, makes the creation a bit wonky. And so for me personally, just really finally stepping into a comprehension of all of that, you know, like I thought I comprehended the heart open and closed bit, you know. I think maybe I was grasping it on some sort of a pseudo intellectual level, perhaps. But for some reason today, it just, I got it. It's like finally, the grokking set in. It's like it locked in place finally, you know. It's like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, you dropped out of your head into your heart, and you got it.
Yes, finally, all the way, because you know there's a lot to. For me, there was a lot to finally get to comprehend in regards to the whole It's been, I don't know, the last 2, 3 days, I guess. It's been swimming around, dancing around a little bit, and now just finally.
It really has been quite the last couple of days, hasn't it?
It really has. It really, really has.
But you've never experienced that before.
Yeah.
Just wait a minute.
Hang on.
Just wait 1 minute.
No, that's what I said. Hang on. Because we're doing this now. Famous words.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I was saying to somebody today, the vet was doing her visit, and we were talking about this, that, and everything, and she was going, "Well, I knew you said that this was coming or this, but wow." I said, "Well, yeah, just wait a minute and hang on and make sure that whatever you're hanging on to is well anchored." Because you're not seeing nothing yet.
Yeah, no, and it's dizzying. It feels now, and it just is going to get faster. So we'll see how. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just got a visual in my head. Some of those the parodies the folks were doing of Hurricane Florence, and there was at least one guy that was laid out on a table as he was holding on to a fence post. I kind of feel like that's what it's going to feel like, only there's not going to be a table there. So, yeah. Well, is there anything else that either one of you would like to add to this energetic envelope?
The only thing I want to add is for me, a final thought here, which I think is also a teaser for another thing, but the real play begins, and since to me it's all play, but I could tease it out and break it down and say that the real work begins too. So when on the one hand you're laid out on the table holding on the fence post, but you've got all sorts of other beings that are underneath the table, and they're not certain because they haven't been awake, they haven't been paying attention, and that's where your jobs, your roles, your missions are coming through, and we're at that point now. So just leave with that thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you, BZ, for that. And we're going to have more of these, I'm sure, specifically on magic, as there will be more magic to report too. I'm certain of that.
I do believe so, yeah. I need a nap.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to go now so Lisa can nap. Well, actually, it is late now. So
it's tomorrow over there.
Yes, it's tomorrow here now. And so, yeah, it's always tomorrow somewhere, isn't it?
Lisa says, I gotta get off this chair. I got a rainbow to go hop on, man. You people need to cut this off.
I'm so sorry.
So we will have all the usual things in all the usual places, but I would also like to take this opportunity to invite any questions, any comments, any sharings that you have of what you're noticing. What magic are you playing with? What is presenting for you? My email is in every one of these videos, and how to get in touch with Lisa and BZ is also in the video. So, feel free to leave it in the comments if you like, or send an email a little longer. So,
yeah, and if there's any focus in with playing with the magic that you want us to do, and part whatever. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, we couldn't hear you very well, BZ. So I'm just going to repeat that. If you have a particular focus that you would like to have us concentrate on, anything at all, just feel free. So, till next time. Mwah.